What are some facts that can actually save someone's life? If you have to eat crickets or similar insects, chew them. Do not eat them alive. They have spines on their legs which can cling to your throat and are very difficult to remove without a decent amount of force, i.e., you can't shake your throat like you would your hand to remove them. If they block your windpipe, you'll asphyxiate. I used to work at a pet store. I've had to explain this to quite a few people who wanted to do fear factor parties or dares or pranks. Crawl out of a burning building, breathing as close as possible to the floor as you move. Toxic smoke rises while air remains more breathable nearest the floor. If you're stabbed, do not take out the knife. That very knife could mean the difference between life and death. The knife is blocking the blood from leaking out, preventing you from bleeding out. Not only blocking the blood but also maintaining your blood pressure. Oftentimes people die from stab wounds not only because the loss of blood, but the loss of blood pressure prevents your body from sending blood to your organs, mainly your brain. If people stumble for no reason and sound drunk but haven't had alcohol, ask them to smile. If it looks weird one side is drooping, get them to a hospital ASAP. High chance it is a stroke. Plus people of every age can have a stroke. If your vomit looks like coffee grounds, you may have internal bleeding. Head straight to the hospital. Likewise your crap. Unless you've ever been eating coffee grounds, or you've ever been drinking red wine, or you've ever been eating the vomit of someone who has internal bleeding. In an emergency around any other people, be intentional and specific with people. Do not shout into the void. Someone call for help. Make eye contact with someone. Make sure they know you are talking to them. Tell them what you need. Sir in the blue shirt, call an ambulance. Marin with the green jacket, go ask the barista for a clean towel. You with the hockey mask and machete, watch this baby. Studies have shown that the assumption that someone else will do something is ingrained within people and often they will not help without specifically being taught to. Mentioned this in another question before, but it is important if you hear about an active shooter situation near someone you know. Do not call that person to see if they are safe or okay. If that person is in danger, they are likely trying to hide from the shooter. Their phone going off, even just vibrating, can attract the attention of the shooter and give off their location. So do not try to make any attempt to contact them until the situation is completely resolved. I know it is absolutely wrenching, but it is much safer to wait. This should be higher up. I worked at a high school and during active shooter drills we knew where everyone was from their phones, lights and sounds. So dumb. Do not pour water on a burning pan, oil, grease in the kitchen. Cover it with a damp cloth or towel. Water will make it explode like a bomb. Same goes for gasoline. I believe the burning gasoline will just float on top. Still a flame, but now spreading more easily to something else flammable. If you are taken to the hospital and the doctors ask you if you have taken any drugs, don't just think about the illegal stuff. Also tell them if you've had small things like Advil or Tylenol that could save your life. Frankly, this needs to be taught in schools. I've known people who took stuff and didn't tell the doctors. They either went into withdrawal which prolonged their stay, or the doctors have them stuff which interacted with drugs and they nearly died cause of it. Restraining someone who is having a seizure or fit does more damage than you think. Instead, clear the area and place a pillow or something soft behind their head, only if possible, to stop them hurting themselves. 100 in a similar vein, putting something in their mouths to prevent them from swallowing their own tongue just increases their chance of asphyxiating. I've honestly never heard of someone swallowing their own tongue, and I worked the medical ward of a prison for several years. From what I've heard, I am not sure it's actually possible for your tongue to go down your throat without first severing the fleshy connector underneath it. If one of your depressed friends suddenly starts acting really happy or peaceful, do not leave them alone. When suicidal people have a plan and are about to kill themselves, it can make them feel relieved, which can make it look like their depression is getting better. Oh yeah, this one is definitely true given how mental illnesses aren't being mentioned much in this thread. It's some disturbing stuff how all of a sudden this person you've known to be full of turmoil all of a sudden just goes down to zero. Same sort of vibe as when the calm one in the room starts panicking. That is how you know something is wrong. Very, very wrong. Do not pick up a person that has fainted. Instead, lift their feet above heart level and keep it until they wake up to make the blood flow back in their head to deliver oxygen. There is something that is called gasping. It's the fake breathing that occurs when you're performing CPR on someone that has water in his lungs, i.e., because of drowning. It looks like a fish that is trying to breathe when it's out of water. The person is not back alive then, and you should not stop the CPR. Agonal breathing or guppy breathing. They take very shallow quick gasps in a very irregular pattern. It's not enough to be considered adequate breathing and should be treated as such. It's basically the dying body's last-ditch effort to try to get oxygen. If you almost drowned and you have trouble breathing afterwards, you should go to the hospital. You can experience dry drowning, where you die hours later due to inhaled fluid in your lungs. You should go to the hospital regardless, because you might not have trouble breathing until it's too late in the case of dry drowning. If someone has been in a car accident, do not move them unless it is absolutely necessary, like if the car was burning. Moving them can actually do more damage if they have internal injuries or injuries to the spine and head. Just keep them talking and try to keep them calm until paramedics arrive. This is a two-parter. I live in the Midwest and I'm shocked at how many people think that the Great Lakes do not have rip currents. So my first is that yes, the Great Lakes have rip currents. Second, to get out of a rip current, swim parallel to the shore until you are sure the current has let you go. Do not fight to swim toward shore. You will tire yourself out. I know this second fact is something pretty widely known, but if there are a lot of people think lakes do not have rip currents, they may not have paid it any mind either. Also, don't let the name fool you. The Great Lakes are basically freshwater seas. They are gigantic. Don't underestimate how big they are. If you ever get bit by a wild animal, no matter how it acts, get capital A, rabies, shot. Rabies becomes a death sentence upon the onset of symptoms. Rabies is the stuff of nightmares. I think people on Reddit might already know that, but I would not wish it upon my worst enemy. If someone shouts take cover, don't ask why. Get the duck down. Do you find somewhere to hide or do you immediately take cover? Also, how would be the best way to take cover? What position is the most effective? Best thing to do in open when you do not know where is it coming from is to just get on the ground. What if it is snakes? Touching an electrified object. If you touch an object with the internal side of your palm, the electricity will make the fist squeeze and you won't be able to jump away. In this situation, it is better to touch something with the back of the palm this way. It'll be easier to pull a hand away. The same applies for heated metal. 3 facts that work together. Venom kills you slower if you're calm. Because of your slower heart rate, forcing you to think rationally calms you down. One way to do the above is by counting 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. If you are stranded in the desert, do not drink the water in a cactus. It will induce vomiting, which will dehydrate and kill you faster. Never trust that the fire has been properly extinguished. Have a plan to monitor that area for hours after you've seen the last ember. I am a scoutmaster and our rule is that a fire is not truly out until you can put your hand in the ashes and not get burned. The headrest on car seats can typically be removed and the little metal bars that connect the seat to the headrest can be used to break the car's glass windows in the case of being trapped in the car due to an accident or any other situation that results in being trapped. Also, hold one of the metal parts against the corner of the window, and then hit the top of the headrest. This will guarantee a huge crack on the door windows. Also, crack one side, then the other, until all sides are cracked. Then very gently but violently push the glass out. If you get a sudden, severe headache during sex, especially after orgasming, head to the ER stat. This can be a symptom of a subarachnoid hemorrhage and can be life-threatening. Subarachnoid below the spider. Yes, actually, it means under the arachnoid margin, which is one of the layers covering the brain, named because the structure is kind of delicate and resembles a spider web. A lot of choking deaths are actually due to embarrassment. If you're choking, Fight the urge to save face. Do not go to the bathroom to fix it yourself. Do not sit silently and try to spit up the food yourself. Ask for help ASAP. Someone in one of my first aid classes talked about this when the instructor asked if anyone had ever performed CPR or the Heimlich maneuver. This woman was at some sort of conference, and at lunch a guy at her table suddenly stood up and walked quickly out of the room. She had a bad feeling, so she followed him out and found him choking in the hallway. She saved his life. You can ask Siri to call an ambulance for you in an emergency. Hey Siri, call me an ambulance. Siri, okay. From now on, I will call you an ambulance. Plays Despacito. Alternatively, ask Siri to play a Cardi B song. The victim will jump up immediately to turn the poop off. If at any point you need to do CPR, do it to the beat of Staying Alive and do chest compressions. Thanks Dr. Mike for that one. Or if you like darker humor, Another One Bites the Dust also works for CPR. Or for lighter humor, use Where Dallas Another One Rides the Bus. The best. The Heimlich maneuver is meant to save someone's life, not to make them comfortable. If you have to break few ribs to save someone from choking, do it. Same with chest compressions BTW. Same with CPR. Better to have a few broken ribs than to be a pretty corpse. When I was a lifeguard many years ago, our training told us that, basically, if you don't break their ribs, you're not doing your compressions deep enough. CPR compressions, I mean. If you have no other option than to fight someone with a knife, you will be cut. Accept this fact. And just make sure those cuts are only on your hands, arms, while you do everything you can to gain control of the knife, disarm the attacker, or defeat him/her. Edit your jacket or shirt is also a very valuable tool if anyone is trying to stab or slash you, providing you have time to get it off. You can hold it in between both hands and use it to effectively parry or trap and wrap up anything from a pocket knife to a machete. If you're about to fall from a possibly dangerous height, jump. If you jump, you're most likely to end up landing on your legs as opposed to your back, neck, etc. No matter which height, it will increase your odds of survival. If someone is having a heart attack, immediately have them chew an aspirin to quickly thin their blood. It could save their life while being brought to the hospital. Unless they're allergic to aspirin, like me, then they can go into anaphylactic shock and die from that instead of the heart attack. If a service dog comes up to you without its human, follow it. Oh, now here's one I didn't know. Good looking out. Go to the ER if a cat bites you hard enough to puncture your skin. They have nasty bacteria in their mouths and you can get a serious infection. I had 2 friends almost lose their arms to house cat bites. This goes even for your own indoor house cat. I've seen it happen. My pops accidentally stepped on one of our cat's tails in the dark and was bitten as a response. Nasty infection. Shelter means bed, not a roof. The ground absorbs much more cold than the air. I didn't know this one. Never treat traffic lights as a race start light, as trucks just don't care how red a light is when they can't stop in time. If someone attacks you and you are forced to fight back, make sure and aim for the throat, because it will cause them to have difficulty breathing and possibly muscle spasms, which restricts the passage of air. Aim for the nose. Doing this will shock them and cause a shocking pain. And a place to hit them is the solar plexus. Doing this will knock the wind out of them and give you time to catch yourself and run. If someone comes at you with a knife, assume you are going to get cut. Raise your forearms and necks to block your face and neck. Get stabbed in stomach. Rat poison isn't exclusive to rats. Warfarin is actually a common rat poison and a common blood thinner. The way we've been taught to spot a heart attack is pretty much exclusive to men. Heart attacks in women generally present with shortness of breath with or without chest pain and back, neck, jaw or stomach pain.